I could say that this wasn't supposed to happen, but scientists and epidemiologists have always known that a global pandemic is something that's guaranteed to happen eventually. Like, given enough time, I didn't know it'd be right now, but here we are. Like it or not, we are animals. Our bodies are made of cells that specialize into bones and skin and muscle tissue, all that stuff. And the cells follow the instructions of our DNA. Other animals have different DNA, which leads them to, have different body structures, different physiology, different body functions. But we all have cells, and cells are what viruses attack. The virus's only purpose is to get inside a living cell, reprogram it, and start replicating its DNA nonstop. It's not a cell itself, it's just a tiny piece of virus DNA wrapped inside a protein capsid, maybe an envelope, and it needs a host. Pretty much all animals have to deal with viruses, plants included. Sometimes these viruses mutate and jump from species to species, and a great place to do that is at unregulated wet markets that have like exotic animals, all kinds of animals sold and bought and piled together and stacked on top of each other. It's kind of unsanitary. As far as I know, the novel coronavirus that we're experiencing right now, that we're going through, originated, or it was originally passed from an animal to a human at a wet market in Wuhan, China. And they call it the coronavirus. They call it the SARS-CoV-2. There's a bunch of different scientific names, but COVID-19 is that's the one I'm gonna use, COVID-19. The COVID-19 virus, what it does is it gets in your lungs. It's a respiratory illness, and it gets in your lungs, attaches to your lung cells, inserts its DNA into those cells, and the virus DNA just replicates over and over and over again. Eventually, there's just too much virus inside the cell for the cell to handle it. The cell breaks apart, the cell dies, membrane splits open, and all these viruses come out like baby spiders trying to infect everything else. The greater your exposure to the virus initially, the greater the damage it's going to do to your lungs. The more severe the infection is going to be, generally speaking. Once your body notices the infection, that's when your immune system kicks in, you get a fever, chills, coughing. Your body has to act fast. It also has to act aggressively to prevent the virus from destroying your lungs. Sometimes your immune system can react too strongly, and that can also put your life at risk. Your lungs can get filled with fluid. You might have shortness of breath. You might eventually need to be hospitalized or put on a ventilator so you don't suffocate or die of pneumonia. Of course, not every case is that extreme. We know that people have tested positive for COVID-19 and not had any symptoms at all, so it can be mild. But that's good news and bad news, because even though it's not as deadly for everybody, you can spread it for a lot longer and a lot easier than most other diseases. In the case of the Ebola virus, for example, it was so deadly that by the time that you could transmit it to other people, you were already incapacitated, like on your back in the bed. But with COVID-19, you could get a lot of people sick without even feeling sick yourself. The COVID-19's incubation period, like the time between getting infected and showing symptoms, can be like a week to 2 weeks. Like, it's a long time. So you could be spreading the virus around to other people for days, before it finally puts you out for the count. That's why this virus is so dangerous. It's potentially deadly or incapacitating. It spreads very quickly through coughing, sneezing, and even breathing. It goes directly for the lungs, and it has a long incubation period that further increases its infectiousness. That's why China shut down everything and quarantined. That's why Italy shut down, Spain, India, so many countries. We've shut down whole cities and states here in the US. The NBA shut down after a player tested positive, as well as most other sports leagues. Schools and universities are shut down or doing online courses. We live in a world where a crazy number of people are traveling all the time, back and forth, all day long, 24/7. And that is exactly what a virus needs in order to spread and take over the world. Back when the Spanish flu happened, we didn't even have air travel like we do, but the virus still managed to take over the entire globe and kill up to 50 million people. Like, it was bad. So this is a time where fast action is really, really important. This is a time where the response from the government is really important. Every country needs to be quick and effective, just like, your immune response when it reacts to the virus in your body. You have to shut things down quick, just to stop the spread. Otherwise things are going to get out of hand really fast. You have to shut down beaches so people don't congregate and can understand how serious the situation is. In a natural disaster like this is a natural disaster, the government needs to be able to distribute testing kits, medical supplies, to keep food and water supply chains running. In some parts of China, I heard they forcibly confined people to their homes. Like, you couldn't get out, and the only food and water you'd be able to get was from the government worker that came to your house to, give you supplies to check your temperature. The Canadian government decided to defer taxes and student loan payments, for their citizens, and everybody who's affected by the epidemic gets $2,000 a month for the duration of the crisis. The aim of the shutdown is to flatten the curve. I'm sure you heard people saying that, or stop the exponential growth and spread of the virus. The only thing we can do. Without a vaccine, our best defense is to, self-isolate, social distance, wash our hands, sanitize. Corona isn't going to kill everybody who gets it. We know that. But as we've already seen from a lot of the hospital footage that's coming out, is that there's a limited number of hospital beds, there's a limited number of ventilators, of medical equipment. There's a limited number of healthcare workers and doctors, and they can just work a limited number of hours. They can't just work around the clock. They're human beings. The systems we have in place only have the capacity to deal with a certain amount of traffic at a time. Imagine a crowded highway, bumper to bumper traffic sometimes, people exiting and merging, it's kind of complicated. Now imagine that same highway during a crisis where the city is evacuating, right? It's even more packed, it's more dangerous, more chaotic. You don't want that situation. The same thing applies to hospitals during a crisis like this. The more we shut down and self-isolate, the more hospital beds are going to be for people who are sick, and the more we can lighten the load on the doctors and healthcare workers that keep all of us, alive. That's going to be the main pain point throughout this whole process. You don't want to have to watch a loved one die on a crowded hospital floor because they run out of beds and everything's overrun. Like, it's a bad situation. Have I been touching my face throughout this whole video? I wash my hands. Don't worry about that. I'm gonna get some comments about that. This isn't the end of the world. But if you're in the US, it might kind of feel like it. We haven't had a viral outbreak like this in my entire life, like even longer than that, like maybe twice like maybe back to the Spanish flu, like I said. All of the fear, all the uncertainty, all of the hoarding and panic buying and people freaking out is just kind of a taste of what a lot of countries outside the US deal with on a day-to-day basis. And just, we don't have to because America is a pretty rich country. The world's unpredictable, like some people's cities get bombed, on a regular basis. So it's important to keep your head on straight about that. And I think, keep that perspective in mind. America was slow to react to the spread of this virus. But even then, compared to other countries, we have a lot of infrastructure, a lot of resources that a lot of people don't have. So, even though it could be bad here, I can see it being a lot worse other places. In addition to the people who get sick, I'm also worried about everybody who can't find work, during a shutdown like this. Like, that's a real issue. All of the Uber and Lyft drivers that can't find any rides and can't earn any money, because nobody's going anywhere. I'm technically in the entertainment industry, and I'm fortunate to be a solo YouTuber. Not everybody has that situation where I can theoretically get through this period of time just by making videos. But there's so many musicians, so many artists that make a living going on tours. There's gig workers that work on movie productions and cast and crew that are just not getting checks right now because, all shooting has been postponed indefinitely. Tours are canceled. Business flights have been canceled. Like, nobody's going anywhere doing anything. Another thing is that a lot of people's healthcare is tied to their job. And if they lose their job, what happens? Is that in jeopardy? There's a lot of things in the air right now. Some people are uninsured, and even if they get sick and recover, they still could have all kinds of crazy medical bills. I saw one person who had to pay $30,000 for COVID-19 treatment. That can be devastating. The government just passed, I think, a stimulus bill that beefs up unemployment benefits and gives cash to people within a certain income category or something. But, I still kind of worry about the people who might fall through the cracks of that system. There's a lot of people who were struggling already before this crisis even happened. Mentally, financially, things could get really tough for a lot of people. And, they might even be tough already. The way we as a community get through something like this is by banding together, by keeping each other sane, by checking in with loved ones, donating food and supplies if you can, taking things a day at a time, protecting your health and your family, trying to stock up on essentials and staying home. That's all we can do. Let's keep as few people sick as possible. Times like these also give us an opportunity to reflect on the things that are actually important, like the people that are actually important and vital to our survival as a species. Not too long ago, you might think that celebrities are important, or a YouTuber who has millions of views and followers is important, or like a hedge fund manager who ups his portfolio by $50 billion or whatever. But during a pandemic like this, which is an event that completely exposes our vulnerabilities as a society, the important people are the people who grow and make food, the people who are working in restaurants right now, drive-thrus, delivery drivers, everybody who's keeping everybody fed right now so we can eat. People who are working in grocery stores, people who are working in pharmacies. We need these people, like the people who are driving trucks and keeping the supply chains running so the shelves can stay stocked up during this time. Like sanitation workers, like people who empty the dumpster, people who keep things clean, people who keep the water and the lights on, like people who keep things flowing. Above all, like the doctors and the nurses and the healthcare workers that are just working themselves to the bone right now, like face to face with this outbreak. They're irreplaceable. Like, it takes years to go through medical school. You can't just order another doctor off of Amazon. These people dedicate their lives to care, to helping people, and they're working overtime right now. Just looking at these photos, you can see just how hard and how much these people are working to keep people alive, putting their own health at risk. And also, don't forget about everybody who's a scientist or epidemiologist or like doing research on this virus, working on a cure, working on a vaccine over the next year. These are the real heroes of the crisis. Everybody who's on the front lines and everybody's stepping up to keep people safe and whole. We need to acknowledge them. We need to thank them. We need to pay them more. If anyone's wondering how I'm doing personally, first of all, thank you for asking. I'm doing pretty well. I'm pretty socially distant even under normal circumstances. I got a little food at the house. Definitely need to pick up some more. I'm going to go to the grocery store in the next week, I guess. We'll see how that works. One thing I thought I might clear the air about is that I'm not like this crazy rich person, famous celebrity. Like, I don't even want to be like that type of person. Somebody said that I was a millionaire one time. That's no, that's not me. I don't have a Tesla. I don't have a yacht. Maybe someday. I wish I could donate millions of dollars, like I'm seeing NBA players do. That looks great. That's awesome. I don't want anybody coming over to my house thinking that I've got all kinds of extra toilet paper stocked up looking for some. I don't have any. I got just enough, and that's what I got. I've been holding it down inside, I've been going on less runs, less bike rides, but I can exercise here at home. So, it's all good. We'll see how it develops. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you all stay safe. Wash your hands. I wish you well. Crazy times. I've never seen anything like this. This is pretty phenomenal. See you later for now, and please leave Asian people alone.